Welcome to the Art of Actual Change. I'm your host, Derek Nielsen, former health specialist turned wildlife conservation fine art photographer. Through my travels around the world, I've met some fascinating people doing amazing work to make this planet a better place to live. Each week, I'll be bringing you these people, letting them tell their stories, and hopefully you'll gather information on how you can make a difference and learn the art of actually making a change. All right, well, thanks again, everyone, for joining me back at the Art of Actual Change. I have a big guest today. His name is Steve Ngowi. Steven, he prefers. So if you see him out on the safari trail, his name is Steven Ngowi. He is an excellent guide. I had the pleasure of meeting him about 6 years ago now. And I came across Steven at a lodge, and we just hit it off right from the get-go. We've actually stayed in touch and been friends ever since. Steven, at the time, I don't know if you still are, but he was very into bird watching, and he was just fascinated by it. And since then, he's gone on to start a family and start a safari company. And so what I wanted to do today was find out just the state of the industry, find out more about what it takes to be a safari guide, and learn a little bit more about Steven himself. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the world to Steven Ngowi. How you doing, Steven? Thanks so much for taking your time to join me here.
Great. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about Defo Safari.
So in Defo Safari, I can't say it's me building it now, but so the whole meaning of starting this company is that my grandfather used to be a safari guide. So he used to work in Kenya and Tanzania, and he was traveling around with photographers, freelance photographers from the UK. And at an early age, my parents couldn't raise us. So my grandfather had to take over on raising us. So it's me and my two sisters. And I have two other brothers that are on the other side. So me, I was more with my grandfather, he took me when I was really young, and then my sisters stayed with my grandmother. So I used to go around with him. All this, it was new to me. And then I came to realize he also wanted to start a company when he used to be a guide, but then he couldn't because of financial situations. And like Africa here, people have many children. Like you have 2 to 3 wives. So he had 2 wives and 13 children.
Wow.
So he had to raise all of them, take all of them to school. It's actually a bit expensive for him. So he couldn't achieve his goals. But when I finished high school, I went to do accounting. But then that wasn't my thing. And then there is this time I sat down with him and he asked me, okay, all those years I took you out to the bush, I've been with you all your life. And then now, okay, you're doing accounting, I can't question that. But I see you fitting well into the safari industry. And I was like, yeah, I think I can. But I did what I was good at school, but then forgot the other side of me where I came out from.
Sure.
So I had to sit down and think, and then I had to drop. I did accounting and then I dropped it, and then I went to guiding school. The reason why I went to guiding school is because sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Sorry about that. It's because no one can employ you if you don't have any certificate. I can tell you, I knew lots of things when I was young. If you ask me, what poop is this? Is it a zebra or an elephant? I will tell you, okay, this is a zebra because it looks more like, let's say, a kidney shape. And when you look at it in the middle, you can cut it. There is a line. So you could tell all those differences at a young age, which it's challenging because if you're not from the bush and you've not grow up in the bush, you can't know those things. But I knew all of that, and okay, I was good on my tracking skills because always on foot at some times, as kids playing with the poops. and everything. And then we used to take small poops of impala. Impala, it's like a deer back
Sure.
at your place.
Yeah, exactly.
So you take that and then we put it in the mouth, and then we see who can blow it more further than the other. So it's a game also, like I usually play that game with my guests sometimes when I'm in the bush,
I
and you
look
could
forward to.
take that and then, yeah, poop, and then throw it. So it's more engaging, I can say in guiding, it's more, you can't just like, okay, that's an elephant, like you give out information and everything, but then you have to get that connection between you and the guest. You
Sure.
see, they are here to enjoy, not like to be fed everything inside their brain. Okay, they are not in the school.
Right.
If they needed information, they could go on Google or buy books and everything.
Yeah,
You
that could
see,
be overwhelming with
so
all the information
yes,
coming at
yes,
them.
yeah. So this dream, he couldn't achieve it. So at that time that we met, I was actually really starting. I was more of a freelance, and then the place that you stayed, Endoro, I was doing walking safaris there because of my bird watching, you know, and that's how I got the job. And after that, I came to join a company called Asilia Company that I used to work for. It's one among the top travel companies, I can say, in Africa. Like they're like the best, you see. But getting there, I'll tell you later how I got there. So last year I came to meet someone called Jimmy, and then we sat, yeah, she was my guest, and then we sat, we talked, and then she was interested in my story. So here it comes where, like, most of us, we can start companies, but we don't have enough capital to
Sure.
start everything at one place. Most of the companies here in Tanzania, they're like owned by people from outside. Someone comes for here and then they invest. That's how the company goes. But for a local Tanzanian person to start a company right away, it's actually really, really hard. So I can say, give her a shout out to Jimmy. She really helped me a lot,
Yeah, that's
and I can say without her, I couldn't achieve this dream that my grandfather had. And my grandfather, if you could see him, he's really, really happy, and for all the things that she has done to help us to get there.
I'm
You
sure.
see, so Ndifo, it's from my grandfather. If you could see my logo, Ndifo Safari,
Yep.
but in between there are footprints. So the small footprints, it's my footprint, and then there is the other bigger footprints of a human. That's my grandfather's footprints, and then there is a lion footprint. So it's me following my grandfather footprints, but my grandfather used to follow footprints of animal while he was guiding back then with the freelance photographers from the UK.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I
Yeah.
love that story. That's a lot of thought into your logo, and I love where the company came from, and I think you made the right choice personally. I think I don't see you being stuck in an office doing accounting. Just in
Yeah.
the short of amount of experience that I know you have, I really feel like you made the right choice. So uh, good for you for that, and I'm sure you're happier a human being for that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm actually really happy, because it's something that you grew up seeing people doing.
Sure.
You see, like, you see people doing it, and being out there, I can tell you, you can sit with an animal, let's say an elephant, for hours. You'll see lots of different things. You'll see things that you can't even find in the book.
Sure.
You see, like, you see
Incredible.
different animal behaviors. So it's really, really amazing being out there. But at some point, the world is changing, and that's challenging
Sure. Yeah.
for us as guides, but then also for the animals.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that down the road, but since you brought it up, what have you seen in your time, not only from being a child, but as to today being a guide? What are the challenges and changes that you've seen?
I can say the big change that I've seen, it's the climate condition.
How so?
The climate condition. Uh, I can say, like, let's say 15 years ago, the climate was different from now. Right now, when the sun is out, you feel like it's burning you on to your skull. But now, like back then, it wasn't like that. But now it's really, really hot. At some times, it might start like unexpected fires in
Okay.
some places, you see. And we can say some parts of Tanzania, poaching is a bit of a challenge. I mean, I'm helping, there is this lion project I told you about,
Yes.
Tarangire Lion Project. I'm working with them. Poaching, it has been a challenge, especially for the lions. When the scarcity of food, when it's really dry, animals tend to go much further to look for food and water. When they go much further, let's say like wildebeest, they go, let's say like 1,000 kilometers away because there is no food here.
Sure.
Because it's really hot, everything is drying up. The water holes that are around, they're drying up. They don't have good source of water, not good source of food. So they tend to go much farther to look for food. If a wildebeest comes into my village, I'm okay with it as long as it's not interfering with my crops, you see. But when lions come into my village, I have cows, like kettles, you see? And I'm like, no. So most of the villagers, they tend to kill the predators, like the cats.
Yeah.
And that's challenging for us, you see. So because the lions follow the food is the wildebeest. The wildebeest can't stay here because it's dry, and then it goes away to look for food in other places. They end up into people's settlement. And then that's the challenge. I'll give you a good example, not about the lions, but let's say, painting dogs,
Yeah.
wild dogs,
Sure.
hunting. Yeah, we call them hunting dogs or painting dogs. We used to have a good number in Tarangire National Park. Tarangire is well known of the elephants.
Sure.
Probably you went inside there. We used to have good number, but now I can tell you I've been in Tarangire for like 3 years. I've seen them once and the number went really low. There were like 6 of them, but you could meet a pack of almost 27 to 30
Wow.
of them. But now, because the food, it's small, they go outside. The villagers don't like that. And then we have really low education, because the villagers, that's their everything, the cattle, the cow, the goat, the sheep, that's
It's their
their
complete
like their
livelihood.
wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone comes and take that away, they see like, okay, they want us to starve. No, we have to protect our cattle. And then the government comes in between, say like, okay, if one goat is taken, we can refund that. But then they say like, if it comes today, it will come tomorrow and the other day, because the predator knows there is food here.
Sure.
So because of that's a challenging. Back then, 15 years ago or 10, they wouldn't go that far. We had good amount of rain. There was no like that dry season like it's now. When now a dry season kicks in, it's a really dry season. But 10 years ago, it was dry season, but then some water holes, the rivers were bringing down water. But now if it's not raining, the rivers don't have water, the water holes dry. So
it's a real
it's been a
challenge.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. Yeah.
So you said the government is helping. I know over 30% of Tanzania's protected lands. Are those protected lands being threatened by a growing population? Are the settlements pushing out further into those protected lands, or are those settlements just becoming more dense and they're not infringing on those settlements? Because you spoke of, the animals coming further and further in towards the settlements, but are also the settlements pushing into their lands, or has the government done a good job of protecting the wild spaces?
Is doing a really great job on protecting the wild spaces. There are some parts when the government sees the animals tend to go in that area more often, like when, let's say, dry season comes in, the government will go and talk with those people in that area, in that village, and they will tell them like, okay, we can compensate, like we can give you a little something, you move from here, you go look for another land in some other places, and then so that this area can be protected, because the animals tend to come in this area more often. Some villages will agree, but then some of them, they will say no. because okay, this has been our land for years. You
Sure.
can't just take us out from here and then take us to another place. No, like, because here we inherit everything from our ancestors. So like me, my grandfather can like give me like 3 acres of land, and then okay, this is yours, because his grandfather maybe gave him, or his dad. So it goes like that. And then me, I'll want to give it to my children, and then my children give it to their children. It goes like that. And now you come and tell me to get out from here, and then I go to another land. So the government is really trying, but if someone says no, that's their land. At some point they might use force, but then in a
Yeah,
good way.
they try to avoid that, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it makes me proud to know that the government is doing the best they can to keep the places wild and make the animals, which is such a great resource for your country, a priority. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I know how big of tourism is for the country, and that and for me, I want all the wild animals to stay, conserved and wild and free. And I learned so much from them being on safari last time, that I hope that when I return that I can still see that same number of wildlife, if not more. Because when I'd like to come back and visit would be during the migration. So let me dive in a little bit deeper to your training, because you mentioned you do walking safaris, and when I was on safari, it was a by car, and that seemed pretty intense as it was. But it was my first time in Africa, first time on safari, so I think everything was a bit overwhelming. What sort of training went into learning how to do walking safaris?
For the walking safari, you have to become a guide first. You have to like have uh, a good experience of guiding and animal behavior. For you to have that, you should be guiding and being out there more often with guests and everything. You see, and then it comes to a part where, so that's the procedure that the company that I was working for does to select the people that can be walking guides. After that, the trainer will look, because every season they used to do trainings, so different training, maybe bird watching training, mammals and ecology, astronomy, walking, like that. So they see, okay, maybe Derek, he has been out there for a while now. I think he's ready to qualify, maybe to go another step up to become a walking guide. A walking guide is, I can say in Tanzania, there is a really limited number of walking guides until now. You can count them. See, I don't know if they've reached even 500
Wow.
in the whole of Tanzania. Yeah, so the number is really low. It's because they are expensive. You can look it up maybe in a school. There is this famous school called
I'll be back. It jumps out.
yeah,
Sorry about that.
yeah, called Fagasa in South Africa. If you look up for the training, it's expensive, up to 10,000 to 20,000.
Wow.
You see, US dollars. But this company used to do for their guides, and that's the best part of them. So you've guided for, let's say, 2 years or maybe 3, and then you've been selected. For the walking, you start with they'll see you start by dry fire, and then you go into an air gun. So that is the rifle handling part. They have to see, can you handle the rifle fast? Like, how quick are you? Your sharpness, how fast are you on chambering and shooting and everything? So you start by, they teach you all that, and then maybe air gun, and then you go to a smaller rifle. And then from that, if you do well to 2.2, they take you to the bigger one. The bigger one is the 458 Winchester Magnum. It's a heavy rifle. One shot, an elephant goes down immediately to the brain. It goes down immediately. And after that, they'll see, okay, you're good. And then you'll start doing approaching. So at first, the trainer will show you, okay, this is how you approach an animal. Remember, at that time, you already have experience of guiding, a good experience of animal behavior. So, if an elephant does like this, okay, it's okay. Okay, it's just like mock charging and everything. But if you don't know the behavior, An elephant does a mock charging and then you run, and then an elephant, that's the weakness. You should never run. You can let the elephant come even here, like let's say 2 meters or 3 meters away, but that's a mock charge. You hold your ground. You can never run. You never run.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
The normal human
You never
instinct
run.
when an elephant is charging is to absolutely head the other direction, give it space and run for
Yes.
your life. So good to know.
Yes.
I will be putting my faith completely in you. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, and then they show you, this is how you approach, this is how, and then the most safest thing to have, it's the wind. We use wind, to detect. The wind should come from the animal towards you. Okay, the wind won't, like, it should not come from you to the animal, because the animals have really, really good sense of smell.
Sure.
I can tell you, really good sense of smell. An elephant can track your footprints. Even though you passed somewhere like 20 minutes ago, if an elephant comes, smells that place, an elephant will footprints up to where you are. You can imagine how good sense of smell they have.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You see, so they teach you all that, and then they give you now, okay, Derek, it's your turn. Take us to those elephants, or maybe take us to those buffaloes. You go, you lead the others, and then he sees how you approach the animal, how sensitive you are. Are you like sharp with your guest, like, controlling your guest? Because if you can't control your guest, then everything is like messed up, because
Sure,
they might run.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, and then that will draw your attention.
Yeah.
You walk like on a single file. Animals will look at you and like, okay, that's a line, but they're going like, but if you walk scattered, that scares away the animals at some point. So they teach you all that, and then when you're good with that, they will tell you, okay, now this is an exam. You have to have 5 approaches of dangerous game. Dangerous game, I'm speaking of elephants, buffaloes, lions, leopards if you find one, but like proper approach of dangerous game. So they need to see your calmness, they need to see your confidence, your awareness of the area, how sensitive you are with your guest, your controlling capacity, are you a team player, all that. And then you go back to the rifle part. You have to shoot a moving target with the heavy rifle. So the moving target, you have to do 2 shots within 3 seconds. See, so the moving target comes like a line, and then you have to chamber, shoulder, aim for the brain, shoot, chamber again, aim for the brain, and then those 2 shots, you should do them within 3 seconds. So you should be really fast on shouldering, like before you when you shoulder, you've already chambered, you aim, you go for it, you chamber again, you aim, you go for it. And then you have to do 15 meters, 12 meters, and 10 meters, okay, on the range. You have to shoot all of them. We call the bull. You have to shoot the bull.
Okay.
So that's that black circle,
Yep.
the black part. For the bull, you have to do that within 12 seconds for you to pass. If you do all those correct and you're on time, you have passed for the rifle part, and then also the approaching part of the dangerous game if you've passed. And then now everything comes to collecting hours. So you have to become a backup walking guide. And then you learn from an experienced walking guide.
Sure.
For 1 year. So it takes you 1 year to become a qualified walking guide. After that training, they say, maybe Derek, your mentor will be Steven. Steven will mentor you the whole year. So from season starts maybe June up to next year around April. That's when the training comes again. And then when you go, you have to have at least 100 hours of walking, being a backup walking guide. And then you have to shoot again at the range. And then you have to do the approach now. Now, no one is showing you because you've already done it. And then you've done lots of approaching with your senior guide that has been like your mentor. So he has shown you everything. And then the trainer will just be there looking, okay, he has done this part, okay. So they have like a paper, they tick. If you've done wrong, they cross, tick, 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 and then they calculate the marks. If you've passed, then you're good to go. But when you go back to the camp that you'll be told to go, maybe let's say Tarangire, you go into a camp called Kuro for the company that you're working for. You have to collect 20 hours without mentor, only the trainer and the guest. So you lead the guest. The guest will just be there, and then they will think, okay, you're going. So they have to mentor, like the trainer is there to see, is he doing perfectly? Is he controlling the guest? How is he? So you have to collect another 20 hours.
Wow.
If the trainer sees you've done it well, okay? The trainer sees you've done it well, and then that's when you're going to qualify to become a walking guide. So
Wow.
that takes you 2 years.
Yeah, that's
for
a
you
lot.
to qualify. If he thinks you're not good enough, then you won't qualify. You'll need to go collect another 100 hours for 1 year being a backup walking guide. So
no, that's a lot of training. And honestly, I think your guests are going to be very reassured to know that that much training went into it. I don't think you're going to go into that much detail with them about how experienced you are, but it is good for all of us to know that that sort of education and training goes into something that is potentially so dangerous. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like walking up on a pride of lions and not having the safety of the car. Like, I felt so secure in that comfortable car, knowing that the lions had no interest in eating the car or what was inside. But on foot, I feel like it's just a whole new ball game, and it's probably a much more intimate experience. And I think that
and the rifle is, you should never think of the rifle. The rifle comes as a last resort.
Yeah.
No one wants to shoot an animal. Like me, I wouldn't want to shoot an animal.
No.
You see, but it comes into an extent where like you have lives are depending on you.
Right.
And then that's when, but then you have to, it hurts to shoot an animal.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. It would devastate me. But again, you have to do what's best for the safety of your group. And
yes.
So you're recently a new father. What is harder, guiding a bunch of tourists from a foreign land or being a father?
For this, I'll tell you, being a father, lots of sleepless nights. At some point, you have to help your wife, because she's with the young one, like all the day, like breastfeeding and everything. So it comes a time where like she's really tired, and then you have to step up. Yeah. So
good for you.
It's hard. It's because at some point it might be new to you, but once you're used to it, it's an amazing life, an amazing experience. It's seeing someone growing up, like you being there.
Yeah, and being responsible for the way they're upbringing.
Yeah.
How old will your daughter have to be before you bring her out into the bush? Or have you already?
So I was planning to, I'll take her, but now she can't understand anything.
Of course, right.
Now she can't understand. Yeah, I would love to take her out there when at least she knows, okay, that's an elephant. Oh, that's a lion, and that will stick into her memory. See, but now she's young, and then it won't be fun for her.
No,
it will be tiring.
Yeah, so it'd be more fun for you, but she might not get.
Yes.
Well, that's excellent. What was life like growing up, going back to your childhood, being so close to animals? What was that like for you as a young man, leaving school, and did you do it during school, or how did you get out into the wild with your father? What period of time was that for you, or your grandfather?
So with my grandfather, so it was around 6 years when I moved from Moshi.
Okay.
And that's when he started taking care of me on the other side of the country, Kenya. Kenya is not far from us. We're like neighbors. And at first I was scared, but then, you're from there, you're from the bush and you see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was scared, but then at some point you get used to it. Slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly you get used to it. But at first sight, you see that, like seeing a leopard, you're like, that's a leopard.
Yeah.
It takes our goats and sheep back at the village. You're scared of the leopard. But then the leopard is calm, and then you're in the jeep, and then you look at the leopard and you're like, wow, I'm close to the leopard now. But then you usually see the leopard running away.
Yeah.
See, and then you can't really follow because you're young, and then the old people will follow, but then you can't. So for the first time, actually, it was a bit challenging because I was scared being like where like in the protected areas, like you see them now, they're not running away from you because you're like in the jeep. So, but slowly, I started gaining like confidence, and you should never have lots of confidence with animals. It's a bad thing, but then it's good also to have confidence.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
So what are your goals with the company? How many employees do you have now, and how big do you envision it being?
So I have lots of goals. Like I want it to be, when I look at other companies, I want my company to be like the top company. See, a top company that is being owned and operated by a native Tanzanian.
Yeah.
You see, that's my goal. Though it's a really
Sure.
a big ladder to go up. Like it's a really high one.
Yeah.
But I believe like all is well. I'll get there one day. I'll get there, but I want to become like the top one, and it's being owned by a Tanzanian in Tanzania, not from outside. And I don't have lots of employees right now. We are starting, so probably when business gets good, I'll have more people. But now I can say we are like 3 of us.
Okay.
3 of us. Yes.
We spoke a little bit before the interview started about what the challenge has been during a pandemic for the travel industry. How has it been for you?
It was a challenge because so last year I was jobless, and then so the whole of last year you can say I was jobless, and then December I went back to work because people started traveling again, and then December, January, February I was jobless again. You see, so end of February I was jobless again, and that was a challenge because you get to understand, like you have your own company and then the business went low, and you can't afford to pay people anymore because you're not getting anything coming in, so you have to let go of some of your employees, or it's you to decide. So it's understandable, but it was a challenge. And then after being jobless, and now after that, that's when D4 came.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's excellent. So
now I can't depend on, maybe now I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
I've employed myself, you see, so I'm not being employed. So I can say everything goes like it goes with the, it's like it's planned. You can't know your destiny, but it's like now you can't tell what tomorrow will be.
Sure.
Or the day after, or next year how it will be. So
well, you must be excited that the world is starting to become vaccinated and that people are starting to travel again. Are there travel restrictions to Tanzania, or is it pretty open for foreign travelers?
Tanzania, it's open to everyone.
Okay.
You just have to test negative and then you have to have those papers, and then you come in when you're like you don't have the virus. And then before flying out, you've been tested, okay? And then you stay for 3 days, the results come out, and then you can fly. So you have to test negative. Going out, you also have to test negative. If you test positive, you can't go out. So negative coming in, negative going out. That's what the government is doing right now.
That's good. And
Yeah.
we're all looking to travel again. I think the world after this last year, I mean, it affected us all. There wasn't a business, unless you were an Amazon company, you didn't do well, or
Yeah.
things were challenging, or you had to pivot and adapt. So it's really exciting that things are starting to open back up. The travel industry is going to be seeing a influx of people wanting to go on vacation, holiday, learn from people like yourself. Yes. Where do you take guests in Tanzania? Are there particular parks that you prefer, or do you go based on what your guests want to see? I mean, one of the more popular ones is the Serengeti, but I'm sure you like to go other places based on your own experience. What can a guest expect when they travel to visit you?
So I usually go with the expectation of the guest, what they would like to see, like what type of safari they want, more private safari, or like we can go into places that like they're untouched. You see, up north of Tanzania, it's more busier. If you go down south, it's not busier. You see, so it depends with what the guest would like, but then also I would suggest maybe this time of the year you can go here and you can see this, like this and this time of the year you can go here, like that. So it will depend on what they want to see, but then I also give out suggestions, like let's say a time like now coming June, start of the season, north of Serengeti is the best part to be because of the migration and everything. So that's let's say June, July, August, September, and a bit of November, and then they start going around again. And that time, it's good for you to be down south of Tanzania. Let's see, it's an amazing place. A park like Ruaha National Park. It's a really nice place. It's around 20,000 or 22,000 square kilometers. I'm not actually quite sure with the numbers because there are some places they've been added up to the national park, and you can imagine all that place. You have only like 8 camps. Wow. And it's well known by the population of lions in that area. So 10% of the lions in the world, it's found in Ruaha National Park down south of Tanzania.
Wow.
See, and then there is a Silus Game Reserve that was game reserve, but then it has been shifted into a national park. So some part of the game reserve, it has been cut, and then it's a national park, and then the other one is a game reserve. That's also a nice place to be. If you want like a cool, chill safari, and you're not supposed to be more into the big stuff, like big elephants, big lions. No, we also have like really nice birds, good insects, butterflies, flowers, so it's like a circle.
Yeah.
It's like a circle. Yeah.
So you find that there's more biodiversity down south?
Yeah.
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 Are you still very into bird watching yourself? Is that something that you're passionate about, or are you now kind of a more holistic, all the nature is equal in your eyes?
everything like, I mean, like generalize, I'm trying to get into everything.
Sure.
But if you ask me what I'm good at, I'll tell you birds. It's like from the heart, because actually my grandfather used to be a bird watcher.
Okay.
So it's like I inherited from him. Like he used to like, can you hear that bird? Yes. What bird is that? And I'm like, that's maybe at Chagra. Oh, maybe that's like the martial eagle. So I could tell the sounds when I was young, and then it got into me while I was growing up. And at some point we say, when the game is not there, like when I'm speaking of the game, is the animals. We call that the game.
Yeah.
The game is not there. What will you like guide your guest with? You see, that's why I told you it's not only about the big animals. The
Sure.
birds come in. We have lots of beautiful birds, beautiful like you can look on a bird and then beautiful colors, like let's say the lilac-breasted roller, good behavior. When you look like widow birds on the breeding season, how they, when they're not breeding, they have a different color. And then when breeding season comes, they have like a totally different color, beautiful, nice long tail. And when you look at that and you're like, okay, I saw these birds this season and they were not like this season they're like this. So I can say, yeah, more into birding, more
Yeah.
into birding, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
my uncle, he's very into bird watching, and I know I've met a lot of bird watchers on my travels doing wildlife
Yeah.
photography, and they're a very intense group of people who
Yes.
they don't care about the elephants, or maybe they do, but they're there for birds, and they take that very
Yeah.
seriously. So
Yeah.
I was just curious to see if if you were approached by a group of bird watchers, if that's something that would really excite you, or if you're now shifting into other things as well. But it sounds like if a group of bird watchers came your way, you'd be pretty satisfied.
They will be actually really satisfied. But also the jeeps that my company will have, the jeeps are more into photography, but then also bird watching.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do both. If you have bird watchers, the jeep is perfect for bird watching, and the jeep is also perfect for photography. You
Gotcha.
see, yeah. So I'll tell you, they'll be satisfied.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
back towards a conservation type, more of a question. When you're
Mm.
out in the bush, have you ever encountered poachers yourself or snares? And what do you do when you come across those sort of things?
So yeah, I've approached yeah, back in 2017 I did only once, but then also those snares and everything. What we usually do is that we report to the park authority, the rangers. So we can radio them because the jeeps they have a radio. So you can radio them, tell them maybe in this location that I'm at, I've seen people on foot heading towards this direction. So, and they are always patrolling the park. So as soon as you call in, they go straight. And in Tanzania, if you've been caught like you're a poacher, so that's that 30 years in jail. So you can imagine if you're like 30 years now, maybe 40. So you have another 30 years, so that's 70 years you come out from jail. But then, so that also has decreased the number of poachers. So yeah, we usually call in the rangers, and they are really they respond really fast because you have guests in the jeep and then they see people on foot maybe with rifles and everything. They'll get scared. They won't suggest people to come like, you can go maybe in Serengeti. You see, they can't tell them, go to Serengeti is beautiful. They'll say, we went to Serengeti and then we saw poachers, so it's not safe there. So we
Yeah.
don't want that in our industry. So we cooperate with the rangers. So we also keep an eye out there to help them in some sort because they can't be everywhere. Guides are a lot of them, lots of jeeps around the area. So that also helps.
Yeah, no, that's important. And
Yeah.
it's an industry that, as a poacher, I had a conversation with one of my first guests about how complicated the world of poaching is and how we understand that it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the poacher who we're incredibly mad at, because I don't know their own personal situation. It's the people who are buying it or who are creating the demand. And yeah, it's a complicated world, but I'm glad you haven't had to experience too many in your own life, and that you guys as travel guides are the eyes and ears of the industry and are keeping the animals safe.
Yeah.
And it's twofold. You're out there observing it, watching it, but also protecting it. So,
Yeah.
well, Steven, thanks so much. I really want to be conscious of your time. I had a blast talking with you. I will absolutely look forward to my next trip to Africa, hopefully this year, and get to see you in action now that you're a grown man and you have a family. And I hope to meet your family and go out on safari with you. I look forward to the intimate experience of being on foot and learning from you. You're clearly an expert, probably one of the most expert people who understand nature that I've ever met. So I'm looking forward to that. Where can we find Ndifo Safari?
We have a website. We have a website that is on the run right now, fixing things, but it's out there. You can just log in like Ndifo Safaris. If you want to make inquiries, you can like drop us an email. We also have an Instagram page. It goes by Ndifo Safaris too. We also have a Facebook page. So all of those, you can email us or you can call us directly. And then our travel experts will get to you as soon as possible. Okay. Based in Tanzania. We are like now only in Tanzania. In the future, maybe we might expand into Kenya and some other parts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys have plenty there to entertain a guest who wants to see wildlife. And I will absolutely put in the show notes where people can find you. I'll spell it out for everyone. And I really appreciate your time, Steven. And I absolutely look forward to catching up with you down the road. And best of luck to you with the new company. It's exciting. And I'm really grateful that you're doing what you're doing and that the world is opening back up and you're going to make a good living doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Derek. Thank you. I also appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And hope to see you in the future.
Yeah, you definitely will. You know, I'm a man of my word. I'll be there.
Yes, sure. We'll be waiting for you.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here at The Art of Actual Change. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I will do my best each week to try to bring you new, inspirational, motivating people who are doing work around the globe to make a big difference. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like down below and subscribe. And again, I really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us.